Discover the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and dive into the world of legendary artists. See artifacts like Michael Jackson's jacket from Thriller, handwritten lyrics from the Beatles, dresses from Tina Turner's collection, Taylor Swift's piano, and so much more. And experience the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's new SNL exhibit with iconic artifacts like the cowbell from Will Ferrell's skit, Garth and Wayne's Wayne's World outfits, and Sabrina Carpenter's outfit from her 2024 performance. For more information, go to rockhall.com/exhibitions/SNL-50-years-music.
Hey, before we get into today's conversation, I have a favor to ask. CityCast is doing our annual listener survey, and it would really help us if you took it. If you took it last year, we would be grateful if you took it again, since we can't use last year's data anymore. Head over to citycast.fm/survey to take the survey. It's only 7 minutes long. We timed it. That's citycast.fm/survey. When you take the survey, you'll also be eligible to win a $250 Visa gift card and some CityCast Philly swag. That's citycast.fm/survey. Now, on to today's show. Are Philly teachers going to strike? Teachers union leaders tell me today that's very possible. Union members voted in June to authorize a strike after their contract expires on August 31st. So I went downtown to the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers offices in Center City to hear from Union President Alan Steinberg and Chief of Staff LeShawna Coleman about what teachers want. It's Monday, August 11th. I'm Trenae Nuri. And are Philly teachers striking? Arthur and LeShawna, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I want to start off with the question everyone is wondering and worrying about. What are the chances that teachers strike and school is disrupted for the start of this school year?
We can't give you any odds or numbers on that now. We're still in the midst of negotiations, and traditionally they come down to the wire. So I can't give you a guess as to what will or won't happen. I can tell you that if it gets to the point where we feel we have to, and remember, strike is a last resort, not a first. We have to, we're prepared. We're ready to, once we give the required 48 hours notice, to be able to pull off an effective work stoppage if necessary.
What are the sticking points?
I wouldn't say so much sticking points yet, again, because I'm not going to negotiate in public. I don't think that serves anybody's purposes. But the main issues are going to be wages, some working conditions. I'm sure you've heard about the attendance policy. Those are issues that we hope to resolve here.
Can you explain for folks that aren't as familiar with the attendance policy? Can you explain a little bit what that is?
People essentially, they call it 3579. And after you have 3 occurrences of an absence, you receive a certain level of discipline, then 5. And occurrences are like if you're out 2 or 3 days at a time, counts as 1 occurrence. Then 7 rises to another level, and then 9, you can be suspended. Keep in mind that the state grants everybody 10 sick days a year anyway.
What are the concerns for teachers around that?
Well, it coerces them into coming into school when they're sick. It encourages them, say you have the flu, and after 2 days, you think you might be able to come back to work. You come back to work, and then another 2 days, you realize you're not better and you have to go out again. That counts as 2 occurrences. So it just says, I might as well just stay out all 4 days till I'm sure I'm better, which then impacts services in the classroom because you have a teacher shortage. Someone has to cover classes. It creates chaos and lowers morale. And teachers, and it's for all employees, believe it's a sign of disrespect that their absences get micromanaged like that.
What's been the response from the district so far?
Again, I won't comment on individual issues. The negotiations haven't been contentious before, but it usually doesn't until we get down to the actual details on the money. And everybody has acknowledged that educators deserve a raise now. The linchpin will be whether they agree with us on what's adequate.
What kinds of salaries are we talking about for Philly teachers? What's the range like these days?
It maxes out at about 100 and it's 107 now, and begins at 54 after the last 5% increase we had. Compare it to suburbs. 3 contiguous suburbs that we did some research on earn about $22,000 more at the top of the scale. Starting is a little closer. We're doing a little better there. It's easier to close that gap when you do percentages when it's on a lower number. And it also requires more education to get the top salary degree in Philadelphia. You need a master's degree plus 30 additional credits in the suburbs. In Philadelphia, it's a master's degree plus 60 additional credits. So they have to lay more money out of their pocket. The flip side is, that you get someone with showed more dedication to their craft.
Salaries in the suburbs are obviously higher with less requirement. So we're asking people to come into the city in more challenging conditions, from facilities to lack of resources, and then we're paying them lower salaries. That's not the way to approach this issue.
What are some of the ways to approach the issue?
Pay 'em
Attract
more money.
more teachers.
Right, of course.
Pay more money.
Right, increase the salaries so that you make them at least competitive to what is going on in the surrounding districts. When we're talking about salaries that are lower and you're asking people to do more work, you're asking them to implement more interventions, you're asking them to do additional paperwork because students are at risk, you're asking them to be open to parents with varying schedules so that they're available to talk to them, and then you're offering them a lower salary to do that. That doesn't work in any other profession.
You add that to the poor state of the physical conditions in our buildings, which average about 74 years old. When you go to work in the suburbs, your heat's going to work. They have air conditioning. So you're going to pay people less, give them less resources, and expect to keep them. So it particularly hurts when you go to recruit people, but now it's starting to hurt with retention. People are leaving for suburban jobs where that didn't happen before.
You mentioned that you're still in the negotiation stages. What would a strike look like? Would that mean that schools close entirely? Would administrators have to be in the classrooms?
That would be up to the district. I can tell you that I'm confident that if we were forced to call a strike, that we would effectively shut the system down. We took a strike authorization vote, and even though most of our members were not around for any work stoppages before, 94% voted to authorize us to call a strike if necessary. So the system, I believe, would be shut down. If they would send administrators into the building or how they would handle it, totally up to the district.
Now, let's talk about the timeline here. Your contract expires August 31st, but kids go back August 25th. And then there's another date we'll talk about, August 24th, and that involves SEPTA. We'll talk about that later. Are we looking at schools closing a week after they open?
Anything's possible. So we don't know if and when a work stoppage will become necessary. I said before, we're prepared to go out if we have to. A lot of that will depend on the pace of negotiations, where we are at, if we think progress is being made. But is it possible that it would occur after they go back? Obviously, yes, because it expires the 31st and they go back to 25th. So that was a long way of saying it could.
I want to go back to how you got started in education. You come from a family of educators. You started as a teacher back in 1979?
Yes.
What kept you as a teacher?
I think the same reason that all of our members do this. We want to see kids succeed and feel that we have something to give to them, and are anxious to really, I don't want to sound too altruistic, but kind of gives back to society. It's the whole idea of public service. And the interactions with the kids and the reactions that you get from them after you accomplish something is what keeps you going. You heard all the pitfalls that we're talking about now. It's not the administration. It's sure not the additional paperwork and requirements they put on you. It's really the kids to keep people coming back.
When you think about your time as a teacher back then, to what conditions are like, have they changed? Are they the same?
I worked at the old Edison High School, which then became DeBurgo's Middle Magnet. So it was at 8th and Lehigh. My classroom was in an old shop, an old auto shop. Every winter, we had to relocate to the auditorium because the heat didn't work. So in some instances, those things haven't improved. We have schools like that all the time, where rooms are too cold, they're too hot. You have runaway heat in one room, and then next door to it, it's cold. So kids have to wear their coats or relocate, and it's really very difficult to have any kind of coherent educational program while that's going on.
So the last strike lasted just a weekend back in 2000, but then there was a big one that happened in 1981.
Right.
What was that like?
That was pretty wild. I mean, I was, not many of us left that were around for that at the time. You talked about what they did with schools. Initially, the district tried to open schools, brought administrators in. That didn't work.
To fill in the gaps.
But they wanted kids to come in. They wanted to attempt to break the union and say that, we can run the schools without you. They were chaotic. So they quickly changed course and opened senior centers so seniors could get enough credits to graduate. It was the wild, wild west. Totally out of control. They did send administrators in there. Those administrators became administrators for a reason. They couldn't teach anymore. So the parents, we encouraged parents to send their kids in. If the district wanted to provide something, they were appalled at what happened at the lack of control in the building. No education went on whatsoever. It got pretty contentious on picket lines at certain places. If you had a school where a number of people were trying to scab and go in and pickets would go over, it was not a pleasant time on both sides, And
people were getting mad that kids were going in the building, or the administrators.
I'm talking about the administrators. No, we would never try and stop a kid from going in and getting his education. If I were a parent, I might have been concerned about the safety because they couldn't control those buildings at all. And it lasted for a while. People sacrificed a lot, gave up a lot of money. You don't make all the money back.
What were the issues back then?
The issues back then were we had negotiated a contract. We're supposed to get a 10% increase in that year. They reneged on it and didn't pay it, and then turned around and laid a number of people off.
And how long did that strike last?
It was 50 days.
50 days.
People ended up getting arrested for violating picketing injunctions. They'd come up and think about this. You'd see, your teacher getting hauled off on a paddy wagon down to City Hall to appear in court. I was one of those. They just scooped us up. They had a limit on the number of pickets you could have at a door. They'd come, read the injunction, and they didn't even pay attention if you were staying within the parameters that had been set. They just scooped us up and took us down.
That is wild.
It was. Don't have fond memories of that, which is why a strike is a last resort for us,
With this climate that we are talking about, how do you entice new teachers that are already in the system to stay or come into the school district?
Providing them more support, giving them competitive wages so that they do not have to go out and work a second job and can spend some time with their family now. LeShawna mentioned before, we have a lot more paperwork requirements here than they do in other places. So they're continually taking work home and make them feel valued and respected.
Paperwork requirements, meaning, is this like a form of transparency for the district to know what's going on? Or
it's
you both are shaking your heads? No.
It's busy work. It's collecting data for data's sake. It's just so they can exert some control. A lot of what they collect is meaningless.
It's often redundant. The paperwork, they can find the same data set in their online systems, but they have teachers extract it and put it into new forms for just no purpose at all. So they sit in meetings, they talk about it, but the teacher could pull it up on their computer without having to waste time doing that. Teachers frequently are concerned about the lack of efficiency in education in Philadelphia. There are so many things that we have technology that can help us, and Philadelphia continues to want them done via some sorts of paper. It takes too much time, and that time they could spend planning better lessons, working with students, providing additional interventions, but instead they're bogged down with paperwork.
That was one of the other points, right? You want teachers to have like a day where they can do prep for their classrooms. Can you talk to me about that?
Well, it's necessary to keep up with everything that the district requires of them. Otherwise, they have to do it at home. So you're paying them lower salaries and requiring them to take work home with them. But every other profession provides you the time within your workday to accomplish what you need to.
Teachers are asked to perform a full-time job on stage in front of students and then a part-time job when they leave to do the administrative part of their work.
We'll have more with the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers Union after the break.
Got any fun trips coming up? One thing you probably haven't put on your packing list is learning the language. But with Babbel, you can start talking in just a few weeks. I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel. And I also just persuaded my friend who's going to France this fall to learn French with Babbel, but that is another story. Babbel's extremely fun and intuitive. It's like having a private tutor in your pocket. Handcrafted by over 200 language experts, Babbel's lessons are voiced by real native speakers and built with science-backed cognitive tools and interactive features to fit any learning style. I love a lot of the different Babbel features. The Babbel games for sentence building, Babbel speech recognition, which helps me get the pronunciation right. And now I'm really into Babbel's word of the day, which greets me on the homepage of the app. Every day, a new word revealed like a little surprise with a sentence to help contextualize it. It's like a daily treat for me. Studies from Yale, Michigan State, and other leading universities continue to prove that Babbel works. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. Look, I want you to learn another language. So I'm teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Arthur and LeShawna, how worried are you about the lack of SEPTA funding? A lot of Philadelphians are concerned about how they're going to get to work, how kids are getting to school. How worried are you about the SEPTA crisis?
Very concerned, because this has been an issue for how many years now? And the Senate Republicans seem to be holding everything else hostage to it. And what a lot of people don't realize is that it's an issue statewide. They have problems out in Allegheny County and a lot of the rural areas now, or I'm going to say less urban, where they depend on public transportation. Their funding is suffering for this as well. But in particular in Philadelphia, we have a number of members that take SEPTA to get to work, and kids, high school kids, which again then is going to affect attendance, is going to affect growth and achievement, and people are then going to come in and say, oh, well, you're not achieving, let's cut your funds again.
A lot of our members also use public transportation. We represent paraprofessionals as well, and frequently they take the bus. They live closer to their schools, so they're very concerned about how they'll get to work, in addition to obviously getting the children to school.
I want to talk about safety. Arthur, when you came into this position, you said you wanted to see schools get safer. Has that happened? Are schools safe for teachers and students?
When you correlate it, violent crime is down in the city. So then you've seen a corresponding reduction, say, in schools. But they're still under-resourced. One of the problems within the school buildings is that they're understaffed. So I have not seen a significant improvement.
The school district is undergoing a process right now to close underutilized and under-enrolled schools in broken down buildings. The process has been criticized at not being really transparent, but the school board is supposed to vote on closing schools by the end of the year. Is the union involved in that process, or what's going on?
Only to the extent that the other stakeholders are. We have representation on a few of the committees there, so we get to have our input. The question comes down to is, how seriously is that input being considered? Make it clear to everybody else that we will have no influence or say on what the final product is. You'll see a document come out, and it will list all the people that participated and they solicited input and thoughts from, but that does not indicate that then we signed off on the final product. So once we see what their decisions are, then we'll make our feelings known loud and clear.
Cell phones. Let's talk about the cell phones. They are very distracting for our kids. I have 2 kids. They are on them a lot. I know there's a movement in the state to ban cell phones in school. Where's the union on that?
I think our teachers are frequently frustrated with the distractions in their classrooms. They're expected to keep kids engaged, but obviously a human speaking doesn't have the same level of engagement that a device does because there's so many things going on. So in most cases, our teachers would favor students not having access to them during the school day. Parents worry, we know, I'm a parent too, and I, worried as well. But we have access to, like we did as kids, you can call the school, and schools will deliver messages when necessary or do what they need to do to make sure kids are safe. But it's important that they get the quality education that they all deserve, is that they're focused on what's going on in that classroom at that moment.
They are a distraction and a problem in classrooms. And I hear that from colleagues all across the state and in other states as well, that is really one of the biggest obstacles to them really producing their lessons and developing them. The kids are always distracted. I heard something the other day, which I hadn't heard before. They had policies, school out near Pittsburgh, where kids have to drop them off when they got the beginning class at the front. You know what the kids are doing? They're buying burner phones, dropping those in it, and then playing with their phones during class. So they're way ahead of me. I hadn't heard of that before.
And also the watches too. That also, you got to drop your watch off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I give up.
Mm-hmm. Some schools use their Yonder pouches. Those are pouches that they use at like concerts and things where you drop your phone in there. So this way you keep it with you, but you can't take it out until the teacher releases it.
Is the union supportive of the mayor's plan to gradually move to year-round schooling?
Let's be clear about that, because there's some misconceptions. As long as it doesn't require our members to work longer, increase their workday, increase their work year, the number of days they have to attend, anything that will get kids in front of classrooms or more enrichment activities, we're in favor of. My understanding from reading what she says, they're mostly concerned, they want to give kids somewhere to go and be supervised. So they want the buildings to be open. So what we're really in favor of is the community schools concept. You familiar with those? Schools like the nexus of the community. They bring in outside city services, collaborate with them. You maybe have health clinics in there, youth programs, GED, so everybody feels comfortable that's in the building. We think, and then you develop your curriculum into that, and it increases achievement. We're really in favor of that. That is, as far as we're concerned, the best way to extend learning opportunities for kids and have some educational component to it, and not just have it be babysitting or childcare.
The extra activities are, I think, really important. In our contract, we have extracurricular activities negotiated. And the purpose of that was to give kids similar advantages to children in the suburbs or other areas may have. So when you implement these programs, you want to add things that enrich their lives. They get academics throughout the school day, but having access to a karate class or a chess club, all of those things contribute to their academic success as well.
And you bring in the health clinics and a dental clinic, or a place, where kids can get vision, or whole families can get vision screening. It also makes the schools more inviting and welcoming, and will lead to increased parental participation because they don't feel the trepidation and fear about walking into a building. It makes it warm and part of the community.
I'm curious, how the district approaches this, how the union approaches getting more Black teachers hired and in schools.
Yeah, that is pretty much a critical issue for us. One of the examples is the Para Pathways program we have now, which takes paraprofessionals, allows them to become certified teachers while they're still employed and at no cost to them. The majority of the people in that are Black women. But research shows that not just Black kids, all kids benefit from having a diverse teaching force. It helps society as a whole. So we are participating in with a lot of organizations that are trying to increase the numbers of minority teachers in the schools.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We reached out to the School District of Philadelphia for a statement on the possible teacher strike. They said this: the School District of Philadelphia highly values its teachers and support staff and continues to actively participate in conversations with the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers and engage in good faith negotiations with the hope of securing a new contract as soon as possible. More than 50 years of research shows that the single most important factor in student academic growth is a highly qualified, well-supported, and stable teacher, as well as principal over time. We look forward to working with the PFT on a proposal that honors the hard work of our educators. As we approach the expiration of the current contract, we're optimistic that we can reach an agreement with PFT that serves our students, our staff, and our families. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Let us know what you think of this episode and share this with a friend. Leave us a review and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.